Welcome once again to Reflections and to Andrew White. It's a special one this time. He's decided to go to bed, which is leading into our programme, of course, especially about hospitals. And you're having days when you've got difficulties with one thing and another medically, Andrew, at the moment.
Well, yes, I've got plumbing problems. The tubes coming out of my tummy, and they don't always do well. And the carers come in for half an hour in the morning to supposedly get you up when they can. But today they couldn't really. Fortunately, we have another nurse in the house because my wife also has MS, but she is actually worse than me and needs a full-time carer. So that carer came in and sorted me out, and she's absolutely brilliant. We actually both trained at St Thomas's Hospital in London. They're about 30 years apart.
Andrew, the medical scene has turned on its head, hasn't it? I mean, it was about that time when you were at St Thomas's. You were leading the gas men team there, and
Resuscitating the dead.
even yes,
That was my job, raising the dead. I've done that before, medically and theologically.
yes, both sides of the coin. But what way have things changed radically since your?
Well, seeing all these junior doctors standing outside St Thomas's Hospital, today is their 5th day of striking, and that would never have been heard of. We took seriously the Hippocratic Oath, not the Hypocrite's Oath, but the Hippocratic Oath has become like the Hypocrite's Oath, that they just stand out there saying, we want more. Doctors need more pay. And when I think about the pay that I used to get, it was a kind of 80th of what they get now. And we worked far more hours. 80 hours was a normal week. But when things were difficult, it was a lot more than 80 hours.
Yes, and one looks at how the public have now changed their sympathies from banging pots on a Thursday evening during COVID to where we are today. And there are many accusations about Marxism getting into the BMA.
Well, unfortunately, we're seeing increasingly that this Labour government is developing Marxist ideologies. It's not just the health service, it's also the political service. My life has been medical and Middle East, and today's problems are still medical and Middle East. So they all come together today on Rodney's show.
They do indeed, and we've had Keir Starmer now siding, whether he thinks he is, but he is, with the two-state theory, siding with the Palestinian point of view. How do you view that, Andrew?
Well, everybody who's spirit-led, who is seriously engaging in the issue, and who knows Israel and Palestine, and there are people who say I'm just a radical Zionist, And then there are people who say I'm a radical Palestinian supporter. And the fact is, I love both, and I know both, and I want the best for both. And the best for both is one Israel, which is totally inspired by God from the time of Abraham. It's over 3,000 years old, and it's totally set in the land of Canaan, which became Israel, which to us today is the promised land. And that is a land for both Israelis, Jews, and Arabs. Arabs have never been removed from Israel, and in real Israel, the Israeli Arabs can do anything the Jews can do, can study like the Jews, can go to the hospitals like the Jews, and they live as one. And the Palestinians could do that if they recognize Israel as the Holy Land, which is promised to Jews and Palestinians. I don't like saying Jews and Palestinians because we're talking Jews are religious, Palestinians are both. Do you know there are 3 types of Palestinians? There are Palestinian Muslims, which are the majority. Then there are Palestinian Christians. And then there are Palestinian Druze and Palestinian Mandaean and Palestinian Samaritans as well. And the Samaritans are the only ones who say, we are Israelis, Palestinians, and Jordanians, because they had the passports of all 3 countries. And the Palestinians were not just rejected by the Jews in Jesus' day, they're still given a very hard time. The fact is, most Israeli Jews do not really want them in their land. They live in Nablus, which is very close to the Palestinian land, and they still sacrifice their lambs on Mount Gerizim. They still have their temple. So at Passover every year, they slaughter their perfect lamb on the altar at Mount Gerizim. That is the Samaritans today. And I have to be honest and say that they are really one of my favorite people groups. I love everybody in Israel and Palestine apart from Hamas. But Hamas are pushed in and they are saying we are the rulers. And the Palestinian Legislative Authority under Mahmoud Abbas, Abu Mazen, they are not providing leadership. They haven't had an election for president for over 20 years. And all the time they say it's coming, it's coming. And since Yasser Arafat, it has never come.
What about the UN conference that's coming up in early autumn? They reckon they can sort this all out.
The UN has no authority in the whole region. It has no authority over the Palestinians, no authority over the Israelis, And if they think they have the right to create a two-state solution, it is impossible and it will not happen. And as somebody who has dedicated their life to that region, I have schools, churches, hospitals which I'm involved in. And then there's an organization called the Israeli Trust of the Anglican Church, ITAC, which I'm the vice president of. And that owns so many institutes, hospitals, schools, churches, and I'm the vice president of all of them.
Give us an idea, Andrew. It's the impossible question, it seems, but I'll ask it. What is the solution?
I think the only aid to the solution is for people to love each other. No other solution. And love means to respect and bring them in. And I always said, when we meet together, we eat together. And that's what they all need to do. They need to learn how to share a feast together. And that used to be especially so in Iraq, where the Ayatollahs would have us for dinner and kill a whole sheep for us. They'd invite us for lamb biryani, and you'd get there and there'd be a whole sheep being slaughtered on the table and cooked in front of you, chopped up and given to you. And you had to try and eat it all. So I used to bring a big crowd with me. I used to bring Ayatollahs and friends from England and friends from America, and we would all eat together.
And out of that came a love and an agreement.
Signed a declaration eventually, the Alexandria Declaration of Peace, and that included Jews and Arabs, Catholics and Protestants, all sorts of Sunni Muslims. The only people who wouldn't really unite in that was the Christians. And so often in these major reconciliation efforts, you manage to reconcile everybody apart from the Christians. The Christians are still fighting over who is their head. In England, they can't even find an archbishop yet. And we are archbishopless.
Well, when you say it's the Christians, was this from a theological point of view?
Well, they would say it was that it all came out of the Reformation. When Luther took some and he wanted to kill all the Jews at first, but then he became a friend of the Jews. And in the Middle East, you have the Orthodox, who are paramount in the status quo. Theophilus, the Orthodox patriarch, is ultimate in Jerusalem and in Constantinople, which is their ultimate place of authority. And Constantinople today is part of Turkey. So there lies the power of the Orthodox Pope. He's not called a pope, but he basically is. And he even owns the land that the Knesset is on, the Israeli parliament. And they are the biggest landowners in Israel, apart from the Jewish National Fund.
Fascinating. Let's assume that we reach a point of agreement prior to signing a piece of paper. But honestly, Andrew, can you actually see Hamas signing that paper?
No, they won't. They are still keeping to their rights, and their rights can only be achieved by terrorism. What is terrorism? It's when certain people feel that they have rights which have been broken. So when people feel that their land has been taken, they can do anything to regain it, which involves killing the other to remove them from what they think is their land.
So Netanyahu, with his fierce response, has got it right?
Netanyahu has not got it right, because what he is trying to do is keep his coalition together. His coalition has a majority of 2, and if he loses 2 people, he's out. And then they would have to have another election within the Knesset. And who is it who could provide a majority government? You can't do it without bringing in the extremists on the right or the Arabs. And the Arabs are divided between those who support Israel and those who don't. And if the Knesset loses its majority, it's got to keep the Israeli Arabs with them, otherwise they're finished.
In one sense, not with the same urgency, possibly. Britain is in a dark place at the moment. Has it got darker with our Prime Minister saying he is prepared to support the 2-state solution?
It shows that he doesn't really understand the situation, and he hasn't listened to what the people of the Promised Land are saying. And so to just say you've supported the 2-state solution, and he says that because he's worried about the tragedy in Gaza. And everybody's worried about the tragedy in Gaza. It's terrible. We've got the Jordanians dropping in things by parachute, and we all know that that can injure many people. And people have been fighting to get to the parachutes, and some of them are in the sea and not even on the land. And people have been stabbed in their urgent request for food. So we've got to find another way. And there are trucks waiting. But Netanyahu has got to allow all the passages to be opened to get into tons of food what is desperately needed.
Well, desperately needed it is. But if it's not getting there, Andrew, and one hears of machine guns being used against men and children. Is that true, or is it just Hamas propaganda?
It's both. It is true the IDF have been shooting the wrong people, but Hamas has been doing it far more. So that is what causes what we call total chaos. And what we now have is total chaos in the Middle East and total chaos in England. Those of us like me who need constant care are under the care of agencies. We can't get in any British people to care for us, so they import our workers. All of mine come from Zimbabwe and a few from Zambia and Kenya. But they are nice individuals as carers, but there are lots of things they can't do. And it's the same with the carers you have. Your carers are from India and Pakistan, and they can't do the things you need because they don't even speak the same language.
Difficult times, and one has to say that through this we know there is hope eventually, and
Our hope alone is in the Lord. There is no hope apart from in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We as Jews and Christians must stand together because our hope is the only hope, and that never fails, as it says in the Hebrews continually. Love never fails, and hope never fails. Corinthians, Hebrews, and Revelation.
Well, we cling to that, of course, as Christians.
And we cling to our only hope in the Revelation, that one day all will be revealed. I don't think there will be a two-state solution or peace in the Middle East until the Mashiach, the Messiah, returns. The Jews teach that there will be Mashiach ben Yosef, the servant Messiah, and Mashiach ben David, the kingly Messiah. And for us as Christians, the servant Messiah was Jesus. And we follow Jesus. And we still wait for our kingly Messiah to return. And we believe that soon and very soon he will return. And we've been saying that for a long time.
Yes, with what's going on at the moment, lots of people think it's drawing nigh. A lot of people have made big mistakes in the past saying that, so one has to be very careful.
Very big mistakes.
But here we are with a problem. We know it will eventually be resolved. We know, in fact, another thing, that the New Testament expresses Jesus as king, but not a conquering king, as many religions make the big mistake still today and go to war instead of going to peace and love, which we can. But it's easy to say that. But real peace and love, it's tough, Andrew. It's not a question.
Very tough.
Not a question of giving way, is it?
No, it's not. And even though the just theory is not everything, it does retain certain have-tos where one is being totally depressed or destroyed. The just war theory says you can attack them, but who decides when one is being destroyed?
Indeed, the church has not got the best record on that either.
The church has got a terrible record. The health service has got a terrible record. Even with your own care, where you have had to be operated on abroad. Yet the British are refusing to pay for surgery which you had, which they needed to do but weren't here for. And they should be looking after that. And we just pray that justice will come.
Yeah, that's a good overall thought. And indeed, prayer that justice will come, and let's hope it does not tarry.
Hope that it comes soon. Soon and very soon, we are going to see it come.
Thank you so much, Andrew. We'll see you next week.
Bye, Rodney.